Hello everybody, welcome to the Kate Gourmet. My name is Jeremy, and today we'll be making the ultimate Japanese comfort food, Japanese curry. I'll show you my version. Let's get started. Okay, so to make Japanese curry, we'll prepare some vegetables. This is very typical. We'll use some onions, potatoes, and carrot. I'm also going to add some garlic as well. But you can easily add whatever vegetables you like. For example, if you have some mushrooms, you can easily add some mushrooms, zucchini, eggplant, bell peppers, tomatoes. They all work really nicely in this. But I'm just gonna stick to the basic version to show you today. So to prepare the vegetables, so we'll slice from pole to pole like this. Our garlic will just give a fine dice. Garlic is optional, but if I had the option, I'll always use garlic. In most curries, garlic and ginger will give a nice base. If you have ginger, you can certainly dice up some ginger and use that as well. For the carrots, we'll do a rangiri. So a rangiri is basically a rolling chop. So give it a diagonal chop, roll it, and give it a cut, roll it, give it another cut. Okay, and there we have our carrots chopped. And the potatoes we'll cut just in half. We'll leave big chunks like that. Unless you have a stewing potato that'll hold its shape like a waxy potato. The ones I get in Japan, they can often just disintegrate. So I like to keep them big. That way they get nice and soft, but still remain their shape once they've stewed in the curry. Okay, so our vegetables are ready. Now let's prepare the meat. The vegetables that we've prepared are pretty standard, but the meat we'll be using is not. Today we'll be using some pork shoulder. Curry is really like a stew, so I want some big chunks that'll just fall apart. So I'm just going to make some chunks of this pork shoulder and set them in my bowl over here. And to get these chunks of pork shoulder nice and tender in a short amount of time, we're going to use one of my favorite kitchen tools, a pressure cooker. And a pressure cooker is really great to have if you are short on space or short on time. You can make really delicious braised meats really quickly and easily. You can make rice in a fraction of the time. And if you have a bit of fat on your pork shoulder, that's all right. We're going to render the fat first in a little oil before we braise it. Okay, so before we brown the meat, we're just gonna give this a little flavor. First, salt, black pepper. Now, this is where I'm deviating quite a bit from the original recipe. A lot of the curry that you'll find in Japan is basically a thinly sliced meat that's sauteed in a little bit of vegetable oil. It doesn't have much flavor before going into the curry, and the curry gives it the flavor. But I am taking that idea and applying Western braise technique to it. Instead of adding the curry flavor at the end, as you normally would in a Japanese curry, I'm going to add a little bit of that curry flavor in the form of garam masala now. I'll be adding the spice to this rub so that when we saute it in a little bit of oil, it'll develop some nice flavor. So we get some curry flavor twice, first on the meat and then at the end when we use our curry roux. I'll also add just a little bit of paprika, give it a nice red color. And the curry flakes that I bought are kind of mild flavor, so I want to have a spicier curry, so I'll add some cayenne right now. For big pieces of meat like this, I have gotten my tongs out, and I will just give that a mix to make sure that those spices cover as much of the meat as possible. Once the meat is evenly coated with the spices, we'll begin the first step to making our curry. As I mentioned, I'm using a pressure cooker. This is one of my favorite tools in the kitchen. And we will brown the meat right in here so we get a nice base of flavor from all the brown bits that come off of the meat. With a stainless steel pressure cooker like this, you want to make sure that you heat it up first. If it's not hot enough and you put your oil in and meat in, it'll stick like crazy. So make sure that it's at the right temperature first. We can test that it is by dropping a few drops of water in it, and if they bounce around instead of evaporating right away, then we'll know the pan is ready to put our oil in. Okay, so you see that the water has formed some beads and is bouncing around. We know it's ready for our oil. This is a dish that can take a lot of flavor, so I will be sauteing in olive oil. In other Japanese stir fries that we've done in okonomiyaki, I wanted to use a neutral oil just to not compete with the flavors that we have. But in this case, olive oil is just fine. Make sure you get some fat side down in the oil. Make sure not to overcrowd the pot. So we'll just do like 5 or 6 pieces at a time, leave a little space in between just like this, and we'll brown it on each side. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Getting some nice brown color already. And as you can see, not sticking. Don't worry about cooking it all the way through at this point. We'll brown them on each side and then take them out. They'll finish cooking in the stew under pressure. Okay, so once it's brown like this, we can take it out, just set it aside. Continue browning in batches until the meat is all brown like that. Okay, so we have everything ready. We have our meat browned, our onions sliced, and our root vegetables cut into chunks, and our garlic chopped. So, in the fondants that we created from the meat, we will brown our onions. So it's not necessary to clean out and start with a fresh pot because we want to use all that flavor that came from the meat, which includes some of that pork fat and spices. So once the oil's hot again, we'll put in our onions, stir those around so they get coated with all that flavor. The onions, the moisture coming off from the onions will also help us deglaze the bottom of the pan. Look at that, the bottom of the pan has released all that flavor and now it's coated on the onions. Okay, so we'll let those brown a bit and caramelize. Once they're caramelized, we'll add everything else back in, cover it with liquid, and we'll apply some pressure. And that is caramelizing quite nicely. Okay, at this point I will add in the garlic. We want to be careful to add the garlic a little later so it doesn't burn. Oh, it smells so fragrant with the garlic. About this point we can add everything in and get it all covered up. So let's throw our meat back in and our vegetables. So to help all the flavors come together, I'm just gonna add a little cooking rice wine. You can easily use white wine or red wine as well. And then cover everything with water. So add enough for everything to just be covered. So in this case, I'm using about 4 cups of water. And be careful, be mindful of your max fill line that is written on your pressure cooker. Mine has pretty much just come up to that max line, so that's as far as I will go with the water. There's 2 other things I'm going to add before I close this up. These are essential in almost any stew, but some bay leaves. I'll just add a couple in there. And some tomato paste, and add those as well. Okay, stir in the tomato paste and bay leaves just to make sure everything is in the liquid so it can dissolve and do its magic. Okay, so now we can close it up and put it under pressure. Seal your lid, make sure it's at high pressure if you have more than one setting, and make sure your heat is on high. Once it comes up to pressure, turn it down to low, and we're gonna braise it for about 25 to 30 minutes. So while that is stewing down, we will prepare our rice, because after all, in Japan this is called curry rice. So here's about 2 cups of rice, and the ratio that I like to use is for every 1 cup of rice to do 1.12 cups of water. So in this case, we'll do about 2.2 cups of water. And turn that on high heat. So the rice has started to boil, so we'll cover it and turn it down to low. Okay, so our rice has steamed for 14 minutes, so I'm gonna take it off the heat, and I'm gonna let that steam off the heat for another 6 minutes before opening it up. At the same time, our curry has also been under pressure for about 30 minutes, so I'm gonna take that off the heat too and let that come down from pressure naturally. In the meantime, let's talk about curry. So in Japan, it's very common to use roux, such as this. They already have the flavoring and the thickener together. So these are very convenient to use. You'll often find them come in little blocks. So once this is off of pressure, we will add in our curry flakes. It will thicken up and become a really nice stew, and that's pretty much it. And then we'll be done and ready to eat. It's come down from pressure, and here it is. Let's give the pork a taste. The pork is very tender. It's time to put in our curry roux. Add in your curry roux and give it a mix. This will thicken it and flavor it. That is looking really good. So we're just gonna let that simmer on low for another 10 minutes and it'll be ready to serve. So we've let it simmer down a little bit and reduce. Just gonna give this a taste. It tastes great. It could be a little thicker, but that will happen in time. But I'm pretty hungry, so I'm gonna serve up some now. It'll definitely thicken up by tomorrow, and it's even better then. Okay, so let's plate. So to plate this, take some rice and put it on 1/2 of your plate. Ideally, something with some sides would be good to keep the curry in. Grab your ladle and ladle in the curry to the other half. Make sure you get a little meat, some carrots and potatoes. And there we have it, Japanese curry rice. Okay, so let's give it a taste. And Japanese curry is eaten with a spoon. One of the first times I had it, I made the mistake of eating it with chopsticks, and I got curry halfway up the chopstick, so don't do that. Mix a little of the curry with the rice. That is so flavorful, it's so good. Let's try a little piece of the pork. So tender, falls apart, so good. Vegetables are also very soft. Potato is just creamy and delicious. So there it is, Japanese curry. Give it a try. I'm sure you can find curry roux at your local supermarket. If not, I'll leave some links in the description below if you want to order the curry roux and try this out for yourself. It's a very simple dish, delicious dish, comfort food at its best. So give it a try. Let me know in the comments below what kind of meat and vegetables that you use to make this dish. Give this video a like and subscribe for more Japanese home cooking recipes. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.